Hi, it's been so long since I last gave a talk. I'm not even sure I still know how to do it. I can only hope that it's like bicycling, that once I get back on it, it'll all come back to me. I have tried giving this talk laying down because, for those of you who don't know me, I have a spinal leak and it's very difficult for me to, well, it's almost impossible for me to be upright because all the cranial fluid um, drains to the bottom of my spine, and then the brain sags in the skull, and uh, that's a terrible feeling. Anyway, so I tried doing it laying it down, and I can't give a talk laying down. So I drank coffee and took caffeine pills, and I'm trying to do it this way. So bear with me, please bear with me. Welcome. Um, Thank you for spending this hour with us. Um, I love it that you care to tune in. I love it that you care to be part of this community. Um, if you're here, you're committed to social justice. If you're here, you put love first. If you're here, then your focus is to turn this world, leave it a little bit better than you found it. And for that, I celebrate you and I thank you. And yesterday we had a meeting with some church people, and we talked about activism because our overall theme for this year is revolution, and then each month has a sub theme. And for February, the sub theme is activism, um, and there's another word, but anyway, and justice and activism, and so we talked about it. And you know how human beings are. I don't know about you, but it's so easy for me to focus on the negative. It's easy to me to focus on that which is not done. But reality is that one of the people in the meeting said, "Would you really want to live 100 years from now?" I wouldn't want to live 10 years from now. I'm gay. I'm married to my wife. 10 years ago, I couldn't have been legally married to her. So we've made a lot of progress. And even if you're African American, if you're black in this country, it's horrible. But progress has been made. Now it's a shame that all that progress needed to be made, but that's that's where we're at. There's no other reality that we can deal with. And in this reality, this is the world we've created. So this is our starting point. This is the hole that we need to dig out of. And we've dug and we've filled in that hole some. And by golly, there's still much farther to go. And today I want to focus on equality. On equality because it's important, you know. Um, in any circumstance where your relationship with people and you're not treated as an equal for whatever reason, you know the feeling. You know the feeling. It doesn't take long before you start feeling less than. It eats away at your own self-esteem. And besides, your value, your contribution, your gift then is stifled. It dies within you. So it's also terrible for somebody to be oppressing another. That has its own terrible price, even if the oppressor may not be aware of it. Anyway, so I want to talk to you about equality a little bit. And of course, I can't talk to you about equality without talking to you about um, women's rights, without racial healing. So I I read I read a book. Yes, it's by Elizabeth Lesser, and it's her newest book. It's called Cassandra Speaks, and in it she describes the myth of Cassandra, which before I read this book I didn't know about. Then I read several different versions of the same myth. It's very hard for me to anyway, and and here's how it goes. Cassandra was a princess Forgive me, I gotta try. I can't sit that long. Cassandra was a princess, beautiful, smart, wealthy, and she was a catch. So everybody wanted her. Zeus wanted her. Zeus's son Apollo wanted her, and she played hard to get. She didn't want to get married. She didn't want to give herself away. She wasn't interested in that. So Apollo came to her and said, "I have a gift for you. I'm going to give you an amazing gift, and that is to be able to tell the future. So you will become a seer." And she wanted it. She absolutely wanted it. Because who wouldn't want that? What's wrong with wanting it? So she said, "Yes, yes, please, I want that gift." So Apollo gave her the gift, and she could see clearly into the future. Apollo, however, forgot to let her in on this little detail that once he gave her the gift, he expected her to have sex with him. And she said, "No, I'm not going to have sex with you. I never agreed to that. I said yes to the gift. The sex part never came up." So Apollo got really angry. And in his anger, he spat in his mouth and put a curse on her. And he said, "Your curse is, I'm not going to take the gift away. You will keep the gift. You will be able to tell the future, but no one will believe you. No one will believe you." So I thought about that myth, and I thought, wow, isn't that exactly the story of women? Where when women speak, even when they speak of the past, they are not believed. So Cassandra gets to keep the gift, and then she sees the destruction of his father's kingdom. He sees the death of his brother. I mean, she sees the death of her brother. Forgive me, I always change my pronouns, mix my pronouns. It's probably English as a third language. So she sees in the future. She sees the destruction of her father's kingdom. She sees that her brother will be killed in battle, and she goes and tells them. And guess what? Nobody believes her. So what happens to her? She goes crazy. Who can live under such burden? Where you can tell the future, you can see dangers, you can tell people don't turn right, turn left, and people turn right anyway. People you love, people you care about, and they turn left anyway. So Cassandra goes crazy. And I thought that this is such a telling, very, very telling story. It's, myths didn't come out of nowhere. It was written by a human being, probably who's observed society. And that's the observation. So women haven't been invited to the table where the serious decisions have been made. Now, have we made progress there? Absolutely. Who is our vice president today in 2021 in this country? It's a woman, not just any woman. She's part black, she's part Asian. So sure, we have made some progress, but the hole we're digging out of is deep. Because against this backdrop, now put the hundreds of girls who spoke up against the physician at MSU who had sexually mistreated them for decades, and they came forward and nobody believed them. They were told they're crazy. They're imagining it. Dr. Was it Nasser, his name? Wouldn't do that. And even when he did go down, It wasn't because the girls were believed, or women by now. It was because child pornography was found on his computer. That's the reason he ended up going down. So we've created a culture where women are not believed when they are raped. When they are raped, and maybe they believe they are raped, then they asked for it. Why did you dress that way? I'm also reminded of the Bible. Again, remember, the Bible is another story that was written by people. It's. I know that there are those factions of Christianity who believe that they are the Word of God. I don't. I'm not one of those. I'm one of those who believes that it was just written by people who were observing society, and they tried to explain the unexplainable, and so they came up with stories. So, story of creation, Adam and Eve, right? So God first creates Adam, and they're hanging out together in the Garden of Eden, and everything is hunky dory and it's beautiful, but something's not right. Adam seems to be missing something, or maybe just God got tired of Adam. I don't know. That's a possibility too, right? We're creating the story. So he decides to give him a helper, and that's Eve. So the creation story, again, Adam is the crown of creation, Eve is just a helper. And then Eve wanders around in the garden, and she meets the snake. And the snake tells her, "Come, eat of this fruit." But God said we can't. We shouldn't eat of this fruit. God said that we would die if we eat this fruit. The snake said, "No, you won't die. The only thing will change, you will be wise like God." So Eve wanted that, just like Cassandra wanted that. So Eve says, "Yeah, I want to be wise. Sure, I want to know more than I do." So she takes the fruit, she eats it, and what happens? She's punished. Because her having eaten of the fruit, and then she shares it with Adam, God expels them from Eden. It's the woman's fault. Did you know? So I'm sure many of you know, but in the Jewish Orthodox, the men in the morning when they say their prayer, and they begin it with thanking God for not creating them a woman. That is reality today in an Orthodox Jewish religion. So, Eve wants the wisdom. Of course, she wants it, and she's punished for it. And then her offsprings, the girls, the women that come after her, are punished for it. Once I met a guy, he was from Africa, from Zimbabwe. Well, at the time at least, it was called the countries. I'm ignorant. Names changed there a lot, and he told me that in their creation story, it is because I asked him, why is it that your woman walks behind you? You never walk together. And then also, they were sleeping in a van at the time, these two, and he slept laying down in the back of the van, and the wife had to sleep in a seat, sit upright. And he said, "That's normal. That's how it is." I said, "But why is it?" And he said, "Well," and then he told me the creation story that they believe in. And so God punished the woman because she ate of the fruit. It's a weird mixture of Christianity in their story. She ate of the fruit, and then lowered the sky upon her, so she can never walk upright and never walk as fast as a man, because she has to walk hunched over, and because she is guilty for having been expelled from paradise, she has to walk behind the men, and that's her place. And she always has to have less. She's the last one to eat. She doesn't speak. And my blood was boiling as I was listening to this, that there are countries where this is the case. And of course, there are countries where women are still treated terribly. There are segments even in the society where women are treated terribly. But you see, the woman in the creation story, the woman is punished for wanting wisdom, for wanting to better themselves, for wanting more. And the reality is that when we exclude women from the table where the decisions are made, we exclude a very important voice. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard about the studies that have been done on people under stress. How do we respond to stress? And if I asked you, you would probably tell me, well, it's just like animals. It's fight, flight, or freeze. And it's true. A lot of studies have been done, and that was the result of those studies. So in, I believe, 2007, a UCLA scientist by the name of Shelley Taylor looked at these studies that were done in the 30s, 1930s, and she realized that, oh, wait a minute, all these studies were done with men. Back in the day, women weren't even studied. So she thought, well, let me redo the study, and I will include both men and women. Let's see what happens. Why not? So she redid the study, and she found that under stress, men tend to want to fight or flight or freeze. Women, however, have a different response. They are more likely to want to tend and befriend. Tend and befriend. They want to take care of the vulnerable. They want to make sure that everybody is okay. So now, when you exclude women from the decision-making table, this is the voice that you are excluding. This is the contribution that you are stripping everyone of. Not just women, men are stripped of this contribution as well. Society would look very, very different if we all got an equal voice. Now, I'm not saying that women need to be included because they are smarter than men. That is not what I am saying at all. All I'm saying is they need to be included because women are 51% of the entire population of humanity. They must be equally represented, therefore, everywhere where decisions are made. It stands logic, it makes sense, and it's right. Now, when we exclude other races, we're doing the same thing. We're excluding an important contribution that would enrich all of us, the collective of us. We don't have to include them because they are somehow better than we are. We have to include them because they are part of us. We all live together. We all create life together on this earth. And then I wish the earth had a voice. Of course she does. She tells us, I've had enough. She tells us in ways of humongous droughts, fires, storms, unusual weather. Of course she tells us. But it all has to be included for us to have a good life on this earth. For generations to come, all voices must be included. All people must be treated equally, well, and right. To me, nothing else makes sense. Why keep stripping away people's rights? We're all richer when rights are being observed. How is it fair that blacks are being killed in the streets for things that we whites wouldn't ever fear? Privilege. Why should I have privilege over someone else? Let's all just share the privilege. Being alive is a privilege. So treat life, any piece of life, with kindness, respect. Give rights. Don't take them away. With generosity. Because otherwise, we create a world that doesn't work for us. We create a world of struggle. A world of, well, injustice. Look around. And I'm so grateful that there are those among us, and there are many, and this is what gives me hope, who are willing to see these injustices, and they're willing to say no more. We stand on the side of inclusivity, and we do it in whichever way it is right for us to do. Some speak it, some find a way of action, an actionable way. Some support it with donations. Some support it at the ballot box. But we're willing to apply ourselves to our principles. So, may Cassandra be believed. May all Cassandras be believed. May women, may minorities, blacks, Asians, Native Americans, gays, transgenders, be brought to the decision-making table, because that is perfect harmony. That is a contribution to the quality of all of our lives that we ought to want. May those people be brought to the decision-making table who speak for Mother Earth, so we may have good life on this earth for generations to come. And perhaps our priorities will have to change. Maybe we have to bring back the golden rule over the rule of gold. And so what? It is well worth it. So may we be these change makers who are willing to be inclusive by principle and words and in action. And so it is.